Peace. This is Star with the Star Bloom 606. Listen, 77%. It's like, okay, Spirit is trying to get me to get these messages out because of like what am I processing? Hold on, y'all. Hold So I had to turn like all of my notifications off. It's early, okay? And I'm trying to hurry up, all right, before my little nugget wakes up. But that's why I wanted to share this message, okay? So this message is basically about mothers, right? And how we are and all that we are. Um, I wrote this down. It was a tongue twister, but I wrote it down. And I wrote participation in proper prioritizing and what that means. I had like this headspace. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, well, what are you doing for Mother's Day? Like, and I kind of got annoyed, and I recognized that a lot of it was because of the rate of support that I felt like I was basically in at that moment, and how I perceive like the connections with the people around me are their desire, their rate to basically be in that space with me, my connection with my mom, the women who I basically love most, who are also mothers, and my connection with them, and the distance that's basically been placed there due to necessary reasons, right? And then I just thought about the reality of what a lot of holidays basically force us to be in. And I recognize that a lot of the times with moms, us as moms, how we kind of get lost in the sauce. And we do this to ourselves a lot of the times, but it's an allowed space, right? What do I mean by that? I'm a life path 6, y'all, okay? So being at that rate with myself, recognizing what I'm basically given the opportunity to learn and perceive through self in this journey that I'm in right now, there's a rate of recognition of how there's this overflowing space of needing to basically show up and be seen. And then I had this extremely vulnerable space with my inner child and my most high. And I basically was, processing the idea of being used and why it is that we desire to be used by source, and the idea of not being lost in a space because you aren't useful. And I recognize that that's something that's also like a part of like the mother's quest, is to basically be whatever rate that you could provide for that intended time period, because you always want to leave this lasting impression. um and they came back to me with such a beautiful, profound rate. And it was basically learning how to be intentional and expansive with the understanding that you will never position yourselves in the posture of losing yourself ever again, and how to basically be in that space. And I was super excited because it was like, okay, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually like, I started to doing this, but they were basically saying how to nurture your whole being by doing daily things for yourself as much as you can to celebrate you, your mother, her mother, the mothers, by being the mother that you need to yourself. No punishment, no pointing fingers, or even limitations. Just allowing yourself to be wrapped up in these new rates of awe while you recognize how you've over time lost connection with a lot of the things that allow you to be in this childlike rate because of and due to responsibility. I recognize that a lot of the times certain holidays are basically just an opportunity for us to basically give gifts and to say and pay homage. However, when you recognize that a lot of the spaces that we are nurturing are deficient, you could do greater, you could be better in that space. And a lot of the times, especially if you're distant from your mom, if you've, have a certain situation to where your mom's no longer here, you really don't want to hear a lot of the things that a lot of people have to say about how you could handle it, because it becomes a personal rate of whatever it is that you're feeling, however you're perceiving in that particular rate, or wherever it is that you are emotionally or mentally, and how you've decided to go about handling it. However, I do believe, being at this rate where I focus on like my inner child like a lot and allowing myself to have those meetings so I could better gain, a stance within myself. I recognize how much nurturing yourself nurtures the root that's within, and that root is always going to go to, your matriarch. It's always going to go to your mother's line. And regardless of how it shows up on the external, if I start to properly participate in prioritizing myself and how I'm basically perceived on a daily rate, how I get to receive me, what I get to do with me, how I get to be within me, I have the opportunity to set a standard. A lot of the times we don't recognize the loss of self until you're already supposedly gone. You get so far away from the things that you would never do because you make exceptions. You align yourself to things that you didn't really desire because you believe that they're better for the group, they're better for the family, they're better for your children. And the more you chip away at this part of you that's really really true to yourselves, you lose the parts and the essence of you that allow you to align with what I recognize spirit was basically calling me to, was just the rate of awe, just being able to be in a space of happiness and joy, not losing the imagination based off of the fact that you have to create realities for other people, and always being in a space to where you could recognize when you need a moment of tenderness, when you need a moment of support, when you need a moment of speaking over, and all the things that mothers are, but learning how to basically show up in a rate of being that to you, but doing it in a space where you're not doing it while punishing yourself or punishing someone else because of whatever they couldn't. um the most beautiful thing that I've been able to sit with recently is the understanding that a lot of the times you are the most precious gift to a lot of other people. So they really aren't capable of perceiving, your gift or even properly handling your gift the way that you might desire them to handle it, because it may basically put them at a rate to where they're either away from or absent from the experiences that you would basically be able to grow into if that space is nurtured. A lot of the times as mothers, we have the opportunity to basically build up something that we know at some point is going to move away from us. And I don't think that we have to be at such a closed fist or tight grip, strangling, kind of like smothering situation with it. I take it extremely prideful. My baby's young, so I know I'm not necessarily at the proper rate to fully perceive this unless I have the opportunity to. But I understand that because of how I'm positioning myself to be in this perspective at this point, I can only basically continue to get greater just because I allow myself to not really want to take ownership of what was given to me and allow myself to be in the experience of it along with my child versus forcing it to be something and not even requiring her to basically meet me at a rate on one day, but meeting myself every single day. And because I'm meeting myself, it creates a space to where I could be nurtured, I could be shown up for, I could communicate in a way to where I'm actually presently like prioritizing me and not waiting for somebody else to basically celebrate me in that rate. I don't know who this will be helpful for. I hope that it basically aligns you with a different way of you being able to be within your whole being and allowing you to see that you never have to give way or be willing to posture yourself into losing who it is that you innately are through marriage, through childbirth, through connection, through, turmoils, through, the what else I was about to say, like the ebb and flow of, just growth and just family, changing and elevating and cultivating, however you see it. We get to basically choose how we get to experience it, regardless of whatever responsibility that we take on as mothers. I feel like we should give ourselves more than just a day and continually be at this rate where we give ourselves a daily dose. As of right now, I made myself basically get up earlier so I could be able to pour into me on a regular basis so I could have my time for me. That way, when I do my daughter's homeschooling, I could have the time that I need for her. And then I could be able to have time for you all when I come on here. And it's not a rate to where I have to really sacrifice a whole lot. I could give what I could give, but then continue to pour into me. So anything else, like the holidays, they become extra. They're not necessarily the standard. But peace. I hope this helps you. I hope this message finds you well. And I hope you're able to take it back, in meditation and see what it is that you could change or alter to help you feel more of whatever it is that you need. I love y'all. Have a dope day.